Hello and welcome to How to Homeschool in High School, the podcast focused on encouraging and equipping you to homeschool through high school, hosted by a high school teen. My name is Nadine Luffer, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking to a friend of mine, a recent homeschool graduate who has decided not to go to college and has started her own house cleaning business fresh out of high school. She's going to share the reasons behind that decision, and she's going to also share much advice for high school homeschoolers from her own experience. And this is a great episode for all high schoolers, but especially those of us who are stuck in the decision, what am I going to do about college and what does that look like for a homeschooler? So without further ado, let's just jump right into this episode. Welcome, Sylvia, to the podcast. You guys have been, are you lifelong homeschoolers?
Yes.
Yeah. So you guys have
preschool.
A lot of homeschooling experience, and then you're family is dear friends of ours, so
yeah.
I've been looking forward to talking to you for a long time. So why don't you just take us back to the beginning? So when did you guys start, and why did your family start homeschooling?
Yeah, so my mom and my dad both went to public school.
Okay.
But my mom in high school started babysitting for this homeschool family, and she loved how close-knit they were because of all the time spent together, and she saw a really valuable opportunity to disciple her kids, give them a Christian worldview. So she's like, that's what I want to do. And my dad was totally on board with it. So like back when they were dating, they decided, we're going to homeschool our kids.
Wow.
So we've been homeschooled the whole way through. I'm the first to graduate. I've got a little sister in kindergarten. It's really impressive how, my mom has been able to juggle all of that.
Yeah.
But it's been great. We love homeschooling. So
How many siblings do you have altogether?
I've got 6 younger siblings.
6 young. Yeah,
Yes.
That's a lot to juggle. Your mom's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I love that story. Everyone's story is so unique, and some people know they're gonna homeschool for a long time. But that's really cool that she saw that in a homeschooling family that she was babysitting.
Yeah, and that was back in the 90s. That was before homeschooling became popular as well. So they were definitely a pioneer family.
Wow, what a difference they made in not only their children, but also you guys' lives.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, so you're the oldest of seven. You're the oldest of 7. And I'm sure that was interesting experience for you being the guinea pig.
Oh yeah.
I am the guinea pig, but I only have one younger sibling, so I'm sure there was a difference. I was just wondering, what was it like? Did you have any, were you in charge of teaching your siblings any of their subjects?
Yeah, a little bit. I would sort of help out here or there if I had time. They would read books to me, or I would do the reading lessons with them. Things like that. But for the most part, I had quite a bit on my plate, so Mom did most of it. And we had video curriculums that we would do.
Okay.
So she didn't have to teach the whole time, so she didn't always need as much help.
Yeah.
But
so you mentioned you had a lot on your plate. So how did you do high school? What were your curriculums or online schools?
Yeah, so 8th through 11th grade, I went to Blackburn Study Center, which is the same study center that Annie and Dora went to. Yes, and then I was just at home for 12th grade.
Okay.
And when I was at Blackburn, I did my whole curriculum with them. And then 12th grade, I was just at home. I did, for photography, I needed an art credit. So I did it with great courses. And it was really cool because it was taught by a National Geographic photographer, Joel Sartori. So that was really fun because he was a professional.
Yeah.
And I feel like I really learned a lot because he knew what he was doing. And then for my music credit, I did singing lessons to the local mom, homeschool mom.
Yeah.
And the rest of it was just, book curriculums and things like that. So, yeah.
Cool. One thing I love about homeschooling is we're able to have access to some of the best teachers, and that is a great example of it.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know what Blackburn is, could you do I know we've talked about it a while, but it's like a co-op, right?
It's a study center, so it's not exactly like a co-op. It's classical education.
Okay.
So it's divided up into 3 categories. 3rd through 6th, or is it 7th grade, is grammar. So it's building the foundation, And then dialectic is 8th and 9th. And that's asking why about things. And then rhetoric is senior high school, and it's answering the why, which is really cool because it builds on each other. And the grades, there's generally about 100 kids at this study center, so they combine grades. So when I started, I was in the 8-9 group, and they divided up into 2 groups. And a lot of the tutors are actually parents.
Okay,
Same
yeah.
with the board. So it's very, parents are very involved, but they are professionals. They know what they're doing. They have a passion for what they teach,
Yes.
which was really nice because they were so happy to give you like extra time, talk with you during lunch if you were struggling, and they really enjoyed what they taught.
Yeah,
So it was
that makes a
fun. The
difference.
passion, for their class
Yeah.
made it so much easier.
And how did you guys like find Blackbird?
See if I remember now, because I was back in 7th grade. It seems like so long ago. My mom found out about it from another homeschool mom.
Gotcha.
And so there were 3 of us. We all carpooled down. It was an hour away. So you'd have 4 hours a week to just, hang out and chat and laugh. And it was so much fun.
And it's 2 days a week.
Yeah, Monday and Wednesday.
Okay. Did you enjoy, like, was that a nice thing for you to do through high school? Did you enjoy it?
I did really enjoy it. It was a nice balance between being out and being at home.
Okay.
Which I liked, because by the time I got to high school, I was sort of tired of being at home all the time. But I also didn't want to be away from home all the time either. So it was a perfect balance of, Monday, Wednesday I was at school, and then Tuesday, Thursday, Friday I was at home doing assignments. Yeah. And it really worked out well. And it gave me a lot of flexibility as well. So.
Yeah, that does sound like it, because you're not tied to it every single day. Just 2 days. And that's really, that balance is really nice too, because you don't want to lose the flexibility of homeschooling, but you also want some accountability and structure.
Yeah,
kind of like
structure was really beneficial for me.
Yeah. So you did all of your curriculums through Blackburn. Is that like for 9th, 10th, and 11th? Okay. They provided everything.
Yeah.
8th, yeah.
If you sort of count it, because I was doing homeschool work at that point, since it was 8th and 9th grade combined.
Yeah. Oh,
it just
makes
didn't necessarily count on the transcript, which was unfortunate. Like, I did high school biology, but I had to redo it later to count it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So.
Yeah, that would not be nice. I have to do that. But
it sort of depends on the diploma program you go with.
True. Yeah, because I think with ours, we're allowed to count things we do. But, you just kind of have to do your research and figure out what exactly they want from you. But another question. So what did your senior year look like? Was that different for you, that you weren't in the study center for
a bit? Senior? But since I was only gone 2 days a week, it wasn't that drastic of a difference. But it was really nice. It was sort of like a smooth, slow landing since I was just at home. And it was an easier year. I still had quite a bit to do. Yeah. But Blackburn is very rigorous. And so I was able to go at my own speed. And it was really nice.
Cool. And did you do any dual enrollment classes in your senior year or no?
I had thought about doing it, but I decided it would just be more work, and I wanted to just enjoy my last year. So I decided not to. Yeah,
that's another wonderful way to approach it, because you want to enjoy every moment you have. I'm kind of feeling that this year, because I do have a lot that I have scheduled, and I'm like, I want to make sure I don't start college this year, right? Because it's still high school.
Yeah, and I did still go onto the college campus and hang out with friends there.
Oh, that's so nice.
I sort of got to be there without actually being there.
I get that. That's really fun. Okay, so I've been getting some questions regarding structuring your homeschooling day. That can make or break your homeschooling experience, I believe. I don't know if that's your experience as well.
I would agree with that, definitely.
So what was your structure like? Like, what did a normal school day look like for you?
Yeah, so it sort of depended on the year, the week. Yeah. When I was at Blackburn, Monday and Wednesday, I had to get up at 5:30 because it's an hour away. My dad wanted to leave by 6:30. His work was only 15 minutes away, which worked out perfectly, but he likes to get to work early, so I had to get up early. So then I was often rather tired on the other days, so I would get up around 8-ish. As far as how long it took me to get work done, it really depended on the workload. There was a lot of papers involved with Blackburn, so if you had a big paper, then you might work later. Okay. So my days could vary quite a bit. I was also working, and so that played a big role in it, whether I could do as much homework one day or not.
Yeah. Did you have like a subject you always started with, or not really?
I would usually start with like the bigger subjects if I had a big paper, partly just because I procrastinated. So by the time I actually started it, like I really needed to work on it. Yeah. Looking back on it, it probably would have been better if I did the smaller subjects first. I would have gotten those out of the way. I would have felt accomplished, and I would have still had time for the bigger subjects, especially if I did procrastinate. Yeah. But usually by the time I was done with like the big paper, I was just too tired to do anything else. So I was always sort of scrambling to catch up on the smaller things. Like I would do homework sometimes on the way to Blackburn. By my 11th grade year, I was just so tired of it. I remember once or twice like finishing my Spanish homework in class while the teacher was coming around to collect it. It got really bad. So
Yeah.
that was something I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah. It's something that I've had to learn the hard way too. That's why it helps to have outside accountability. And sometimes you have to go through those things and like
learn the hard way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I like that perspective of doing the smaller things because it's rewarding to get things done.
It's nice to see things checked off of a list.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Did
gives
you
me motivation?
Did you make lists for your schoolwork or?
I tried.
Me too.
So the study center sends out assignment sheets. So all of the work is written down. I was a very idealistic high schooler. Like I would buy a planner at the beginning of every year. I'm like, I'm going to write down everything, you know, all my homework and everything I'm doing in my life. And it was sort of hit or miss. So I did appreciate having a schedule, writing things down, but I didn't always stick to it. And again, with being idealistic, I would try to schedule like every minute of my life, which just doesn't work.
Yeah, that's true.
I needed to learn like flexibility and going with a flow, which doesn't come easily to me. I want to plan everything, but that trying to do that made it harder to stick to it.
Yeah,
So
and it probably
something
made
I had to learn throughout high school.
It's always a learning process, and these things. That's why I love homeschooling so much because you don't have the person telling you to do everything every minute.
Right.
Like you have to make those mistakes and learn from them yourself.
Yeah.
And it's obvious that you've definitely grown and learned, and sometimes the harder way, but these really valuable skills that'll probably help you out in your future. So
in the moment, it sort of feels like a blessing and a curse because you realize how valuable it is that you're learning to manage your own time. But time management is really the sort of thing you have to learn the hard way, and so it can be sort of painful to have to learn it.
Yes.
So
I couldn't agree more. Even this week for me has been kind of crazy with my time management. I need to be more on top of myself. It's very easy for me to slip. So that's why I like when my mom's on top of me a little bit just to help me out. Even though, you know, you're going into your senior year, so you feel like you should have it down. But, you know, we're always learning it. So you kind of have to be easy on yourself too. Do you have any advice regarding those things?
Be flexible. That was something I really had to learn. I did HG as an extracurricular for a couple of years.
Okay.
Well, actually it was 9 years. So it was more than a couple.
Whoa.
But it didn't really feel like that long. And one of my leaders liked to say, be flexible like a pretzel. Which can be really, it's a fun saying, but it's true. You know, life is always different, like every day, and you can't plan for it. So having a basic routine that you can fall back on is good, but don't schedule everything. Leave time to enjoy life. Leave time for changes and things like that.
So why don't you talk a bit about extracurriculars and things that you've done? Could you talk of what exactly HG is?
Yeah, so I would say HG is similar to Girl Scouts, but it's faith-based. So I did it for 9 years. I started 4th grade, I think. Okay. 4th grade through 12th grade. Is it 4 or 5 levels?
Wait, you start Pathfinder,
which is 5 years old. Yes. Pathfinder, Tender Heart, Explorer, Pioneer, Patriot.
Yeah, 5.
There's a lot of badges. Once you're older, you get to plan events with younger girls, which I always really enjoyed. Yeah. It was sort of more girl-led. Yeah, I feel like it sort of stretched me as a leader. And sometimes getting to teach classes and badges and doing camps and leading those. And yeah.
You definitely learn time management skills for those things, too.
Yes.
Yeah, HG is American Heritage Girls. That's what it stands for. We're really used to saying... I
probably should have explained that.
HG. No, it's fine. I've talked about HG before. It's a great social outlet, like to talk... I mean, you had Blackburn as well.
Right.
But it's a great way to get involved with your community as well. And
well, that's where we met.
Yeah,
so if we hadn't gone there, then I wouldn't be doing this podcast. So I have a lot of friends from American Heritage Girls, so it was really a blessing.
Yeah,
and it connects you to other homeschoolers.
Yes, it does.
Well.
It's been a huge blessing in our lives, and you talked about leadership, having to work with a team, and build just schedule huge events. Like we put on some pretty big things. I mean, you did family camp, right?
Right.
So
yeah, during COVID,
that would have been hard.
There was 3 of us, and then one of them got sick, so we were down to 2 last minute, right 30 minutes before everyone was getting there. We realized we were down to 2.
Oh my.
So again, that takes flexibility.
Yes.
But it was a lot of fun. But it definitely grows you as a person. You realize your strengths and weaknesses. And
is there anything else that you did for extracurriculars?
I did youth group.
Okay.
Which is, I always loved that. Becoming closer friends with people at my church.
Okay.
I don't know if working counts as an extracurricular.
Yes, it does.
But I did that. So those were my 3.
How was working as a homeschooler? Like, what was that like?
It was great. Everyone who interviewed me was really excited when they found out I was homeschooled because they knew it meant I could be flexible.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was definitely a bonus. You know, people were more open to hiring me. So I worked for not quite a year and a half from 11th grade through halfway through 12th grade. Okay. I was a barista at a local coffee shop.
Nice.
So, I really enjoyed it. It was a nice change from school, because school is very mental. At my work, I sort of had to do the same things every day. So it was just a nice outlet, I guess. Because, you know, you can't completely shut off your brain, but you don't have to focus as much. And it keeps you busy and productive, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and you're like...
And you learn new life skills.
Exactly.
So...
I've always wondered, is it hard to be a barista?
It depends on the day.
Okay.
Depends on your coworkers as well a little bit. But for the most part, it wasn't so bad. I really enjoyed it. You have similar tasks to do. The variety comes in with how many customers you have, the type of customers, which, you know, most of them were really great. So I enjoyed it. Yeah. But you always have a few interesting ones here and there.
Oh, yeah. I bet. Oh, yeah. So I love that they were so excited to hire you. Like, that gives me a lot of encouragement that... You know, employers are like, oh, you're homeschooled. You should come work here.
They sort of knew that being homeschooled meant you could be flexible. Like, they had learned to look out for that.
Yeah. So did you ever have a problem with getting schoolwork done and working? Like, was that ever an issue?
Not if I manage my time well.
Yeah.
I think it all comes around to that. That's probably going to be what we're talking about on this episode. But
yeah.
I actually found, though, the busier I was, the better at getting schoolwork.
Yes.
I was, because I had to. I was so busy. And I think also when I was busy, I was more motivated. I would say it was a bonus.
Yeah.
The more I worked, the better I was at school.
Wow, it's like kind of like what you wouldn't expect, but that's how I found. And a lot of people I talk to, that's exactly what they say.
You get into a bit of a groove.
I think whenever I have an open day, I'm like, I have all day, and then
I severely overestimate you know, how much time I have. And so then it's like bedtime and I'm still finishing up my homework because I spent, you know, all morning reading or something like that.
If you have somewhere to go, you're like, oh, I have to get this math assignment done like in an hour, and then because I have English to do, you know. So it's just there's this,
the adrenaline rush helps.
Exactly. And you're looking forward to the thing you have to do later, and so it just makes you want to work and then reward yourself after. Sometimes that's how I feel. So that's a good piece of advice too, is
thank you,
make your life a little busy. You know, like throw some things
having some variety helps. I think if you just have school, it gets a bit monotonous and you don't have anything to look forward to, and it just makes it harder. Yeah. And some people I would think would be worried homeschooling, being stuck in their house all the time. It doesn't necessarily have to be the case, and it shouldn't be, because then you're probably not going to thrive. Right. We don't live under a rock. We have plenty of social things to do. Yeah. I don't think I know any homeschooler who just sits in their house all day doing their work. Yeah, and you definitely find things to do, and preferably like get out of your house sometimes. Like sometimes doing work, I don't know if doing work somewhere else helps too. Yeah. I often, my senior year, since I wasn't at Blackbird, I would go into cafes and work with friends. So I don't know, does drinking coffee also count as an extracurricular? That's the thing I often did as well. Once I wasn't working. I would often go into cafes or go to the college and meet up with people and study, or sometimes by myself. I also started taking my 2 younger sisters. So that's so fun. Once a week I would take one of them in, and we got really close doing that. Yeah. Which is cool because there's a bigger age gap. But since we were able to just sit and work together, we sort of bonded. And having someone to work with often helps too. Yeah. Depending on who you're working with. That's about what I was going to say. Sometimes not very much. But there was times when I would go to meet up with a friend, and I would get like half of an assignment done because we just spent the whole time chatting. Yeah. That happens sometimes too. And do you feel like that you've grown closer with your siblings? Definitely. Through homeschooling? It's something that makes moving on a bit harder, partly because I'm the only one in that stage of life. You know, my younger sister is 4. Yeah. So that makes it hard, but also just because I've been so close with them. Like, even if I'm upstairs in my room all day doing homework, I know they're still around. Yeah, they're in the house. It makes it sort of sad. Not that I'm moving on right now, but just the thought of it. Yeah. It's sort of like missing summer before summer's over, sort of thing. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, because you're just so used to being around them all the time that it's like, oh man, now we're moving on to a stage of life where I'm not necessarily going to be around them all the time. Yeah. So it's hard to be present sometimes when you're like reminiscing on how wonderful
your schooling has been. And it sounds like you've had a wonderful
I really enjoyed it. I'm grateful that I was homeschooled.
Yeah. And so we were talking about your future a little bit. What are currently your hopes for the future now that you graduated?
Yeah, so I've decided not to go to college. I call it an indefinite gap year because I might go to college after this year. I might not. I don't really know. So I'm planning on just working. I'm going to be hopefully self-employed, doing my own cleaning business. So I didn't really want a behind-the-desk job, and maybe it's just the homeschooler side of me, but I didn't want to work for someone else. I like being independent, being in charge of my own schedule and all of that. So I'm going to be doing that and a bit of babysitting, just staying at home. My mom's excited. She's planning on having me cook a lot for her. Since my sisters are going to be at Blackburn now, they're not going to have as much time.
True.
So
True. I think
she's looking forward to that.
It's wonderful what you're doing. I really do. And you're clean. That's such a great idea. And you said you love doing it, right?
I do.
Yeah.
It's very satisfying.
Oh, yeah.
You get like the immediate gratification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, there's such a mindset now that college is the only path, but that's so not true. And sometimes you just need to take a break and just reevaluate like what I actually wanted to do. So it's so important what you're doing. It's so encouraging too for a lot of people I know. So yeah, what kind of influenced that decision?
I guess there were several things. I sort of got burnt out in high school. I think I put my identity in how good I was at school. And, as always, if you put your identity in something other than God, he knows how dangerous that is. So he kind of tears that down to get you refocused on him. So I ended up getting really burnt out. I realized if I went to college right away without taking at least 1 year off, I wasn't going to do so well. I would have to focus entirely on school. I wouldn't be able to live my life.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I'd want to study. What I would want to major in, and it's so expensive nowadays, and it takes up so much time. I didn't think it was very worthwhile. I have friends, all throughout high school, they knew, like, I want to be a nurse, I want to be this, I want to be that, and I enjoy, like, such a range of things, but I didn't think any of them were my calling, so I just decided to take a year, sort of find myself, and see what happens. It might be I don't ever go to college. It might be that after this year I do, and I love it. So I'm just trying to figure that out.
Yeah, and trusting God to lead you. And then, pursuing what you do, like right now, and starting your own little business. That's just so amazing.
I'm really looking forward to all the time I'm going to have to listen to audiobooks while I clean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you.
That's a definite bonus, because, I'm going to be by myself all day.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of reading done.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you listen to things while you clean.
Podcasts, audiobooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have any advice for homeschoolers now being a graduate?
Yeah. I feel like I have so much wisdom I should be able to impart, but let's see what I can come up with. I would say keep your eye on the goal, but take it one step at a time.
Ooh, that's good.
Life is going to change week by week, year by year.
Yeah.
So having that ultimate goal is going to help you, but also how you get there might change. I'd also say, if you're worried, if you haven't homeschooled yet and you're worried, oh, maybe I won't be able to socialize as much. Life is what you make of it. So if you choose to be intentional with socializing, then you're definitely going to have a blast. But, if you focus on school, which I sort of learned this the hard way, I ended up being so focused on school and, rather burnt out that the thought of socializing sort of got a little bit overwhelming. And I was very shy when I was little. So it was also stepping outside of my comfort zone that I didn't make the decision to go out as much as I could have. And it wasn't because I was homeschooled. I just didn't pursue it. Yeah. And so it's something I sort of learned the hard way of, there's so much more I could have done with my life. So this year, I'm focused on having my main character moments. I want to live my life. Yeah. And I'm going to have fun.
Yeah. And you know what? I was going to say something on the whole college thing, too, is not a lot of people understand the
point of college.
That, and also it should have purpose.
College is a tool.
Yes. Yeah, and you shouldn't just go into it because you can or you think everyone else is doing it.
I think more people go nowadays because it's a social norm. And they go to have fun or have the community. Yeah. Yeah. But it's a tool to get to your calling in life. And I think many people don't have that because they weren't supposed to go to college. But they chose to anyway, and so now they feel lost. Like, I don't enjoy what I'm doing. I don't feel like I'm doing the right thing. College is definitely for some people, but it's not for everyone, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And the mindset now is it's for everyone, and you go into it right away.
Yeah.
And
although more and more people nowadays are choosing to not go to college, which I think is exciting. It's nice to know that I'm not the only one.
Yes, you're definitely not the only one. And there's a need for like trades workers, and
I think that's very undervalued nowadays.
Yeah, it is. And it should be a mature, like, I know exactly the purpose of going into college is not necessarily just for the experience, but also for the career I want to pursue. So, yeah.
It was the sort of decision where it wasn't a fun decision to make. All of my friends are going to college. A lot of them are going to the same college. So even though I live close by and I'm going to see them, it's not quite the same thing. Yeah. It was the right decision. It just wasn't the easy or fun decision to make. That's
another good piece of advice right there, Sylvia. Sometimes you have to make the harder decisions. Yeah. So do you have anything else you want to impart?
Anything else? That's such a
such a broad question. Yeah.
I would definitely say find balance. Don't put your identity in school.
Yeah, that's important.
There's a lot of things that you should be doing with your life, and school is only a little bit of it. I think a lot of people look at high school and they think of all the things, like the textbook things that you should be learning, but there's also a lot of life lessons you need to learn at that stage.
Yes.
And just because you don't have straight A's on your transcript doesn't mean you didn't learn anything. Maybe you learn more life lessons, and that's good too.
You're pretty much speaking to me, because I struggle so badly with this and making my grade my worth all the time. Oh my goodness.
It's better to use it as a ruler of how much you learned. If you did your best, then that's good enough.
Yeah.
Just because you might have a C, but if you learned as much as you could, then you did well.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes it's not all about the schooling you're actually learning. It's about the mindsets that you're learning, and the time management skills that you're learning, because sometimes that's at fault too.
And if you learn how to learn, then you can do that for the rest of your life. Exactly. I had one adult ask me, so are you going to college? And I said, no, I don't think it'd be wise to spend all that time and money on something I'm not so sure is the right path for me. And she said, well, why don't you go just to learn? Go for the learning. And I said, I know how to pick up a book and learn. I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
I don't need to go to college to learn.
Yeah.
I think homeschooling really instilled in me a love of learning and a knowledge of how to do it, which was really nice during COVID, because when we were at home, I had the tools to teach myself. And that was something I noticed a lot of public schoolers struggling with, is they were not at home and they didn't know how to teach themselves. Yeah. So that was something that I'm really glad I learned.
And that's something you'll carry with you your whole life.
Yeah. I think there's so many good books out there. It's sort of sad if you think you have to rely on someone else to teach you.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of sad that people underestimate how much they can do. They underestimate their ability to teach themselves. And obviously you're not going to be able to learn everything on your own. Yeah. But you can learn a lot more than you think you can. Yes. You're capable of a lot more than you think you are.
Yes. I was actually just talking about that yesterday. When you give kids the responsibility, you'll be surprised at what they can actually get done. Yeah. HG is an amazing example of that. Right. I mean, we have 6th graders planning a whole tea party with their moms, but most of it is done by, them. And you're like, wow, like they have ideas, they have drive, and they can create something really cool, and it's beneficial for themselves too. Like, I did this. What else can I do?
I think if you have reasonable but high expectations for someone, they're going to live up to it. And it feels good to live up to it. So I think people need to have higher expectations of kids nowadays. Yeah. I think everyone would be a lot happier.
Yeah, that's true. And kids would be a lot more excited about doing things, because they're like, I can do.
And they'd be more capable when they get into the adult world, if they have to do things on their own.
Exactly. Manage their time on their own.
And it gives them a confidence too. I can take care of myself. I might make mistakes, but that's normal, and I can come back from that. Yeah. And learn from that.
So many valuable life lessons. Yeah. And I was wondering, what was something that you wish more people knew about homeschoolers?
I would say that we're happy and we're thriving. We're ready to take on the world. It's really sad to me when I get on Instagram and I see all these people attacking homeschooling and say, oh, your kids must be, so unprepared for the world. They must be so unhappy. Yeah. How are they learning anything? You're just their parent. You don't have a degree. How can you teach them? We're doing great. Yeah.
I mean, obviously not every homeschooling environment is going to be amazing.
Right. And homeschooling isn't for everyone either.
Exactly.
If you homeschooled in middle school and then you chose to go to a public school or private school for high school, you didn't fail homeschooling.
Mm-mm.
Just like college is just a tool and a stepping stone, and it's not right for everybody.
Yeah.
But it is a pretty great tool that more people should look into, I think.
Yes. And there's one way to do high school. Like, it's not just
There's
the
so
one.
many options nowadays.
Yeah.
I've been to like one convention with my mom.
Yeah.
And it was even a smaller convention, but it was really cool how many curriculums and things are.
Oh my
and it's,
goodness.
Especially after COVID, I think it's been expanding so fast.
Yeah. Especially colleges
so many options.
are like opening dual enrollment like crazy, you know, after
a
college.
friend of ours told me that in Tennessee, now I don't know exactly all the details about this, but that community colleges will offer free tuition for homeschoolers.
Wow.
Because homeschoolers are good at school. And so if their students are getting high grades, it makes the college look good. So
Yeah. Yeah, and we know how to learn, and we know the value of learning, and so that makes a huge difference in how we go about school, you know, and grades and college work, you know. So very cool, and yeah, we are thriving. Yeah.
Homeschool isn't the right fit for everybody, but so many homeschoolers are happy with what they're doing.
Yeah,
I would say more homeschoolers are happy with homeschooling than public schoolers are with going to a public school.
And I know there's so many kids that I know who might be in public school that I think they would thrive as homeschoolers, but either they are like surrounded by these stigmas and myths, or it's just not something that they think is cool, because sometimes, you know, it doesn't seem that cool. You're with your parents, you're with your siblings, you're in your house, but there's so much value in it, and it's so worth it.
And I think some people think they don't have the option to homeschool. But that's one of the great things about co-ops or study centers, is it provides you that support.
Exactly.
You know, my mom didn't have to teach me much in high school because I had the tutors to do that. No, she was still really involved.
Yeah.
She had the final say on my grades, on my transcript, but she didn't have to teach me. And I think that's one of the great things that's really started happening recently is, you know, the community. And you don't have to be teaching your kid 24/7 to homeschool them. Yeah. Even online school, which I don't know much about, but that's another homeschooling option as well.
Yeah. When you get to the upper level, sometimes it's nicer to have someone who knows a bit more about it and can help you out with it question wise, and yeah, so there are ways that it's not all on your parents. Definitely not now with all these resources that keep coming. Like, they just keep appearing. People keep talking about like new things like the National Geographic photography thing. I had no idea that existed. Yeah. And there's just so much. And if you just do a little research, you'll find so much that you can explore. Yeah. It's really exciting. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed talking to you so much. We need more voices in the homeschooling community. We need more like just people telling, like, yeah, I'm thriving. Like this was a thriving education experience, and I learned so much. And I'm so excited for my future, you know, and hear about the employers that were excited to hire you, you know, all these different stories. They're just so encouraging, and the truth needs to be talked about more often. So thank you.
That's why I think what you're doing is really great. I wish I had a role model like you when I was younger. I like how you've been able to do more than, you know, most people do in high school. You found something unique, but you're doing really well with it.
Thank you very much. That's very encouraging to me, because sometimes it's hard, but I hope that, and you know, it's so, and I couldn't do without guests like you who come on and share their stories and are just so open to talking about the hard things too, because we don't want to skirt over, you know, some things about homeschooling that are challenging. There are ways to overcome that, and there are things you learn from it, and then overall we're just, you know, the homeschooling community is just growing and thriving. So
it's very close-knit.
Yes, it is
such a blessing.
Yep, for sure. And so thank you again for everything you shared. That is it for episode number 31. I hope you guys all enjoyed listening. And thanks again to Sylvia for being so open and sharing her homeschool successes and struggles, and leaving us with so much good advice to carry into our homeschooling experiences. I know I'm truly inspired by what Sylvia is doing with her business. And speaking of that, if you are in or around the Valant area, Valant, Pennsylvania, I know a lot of my listeners come from Newcastle, Pennsylvania, so I'm talking to you guys, and you're looking for a house cleaner, or you know someone who is, I have linked Sylvia's email address in the show notes. You can contact her with any inquiries you have about her business, and hopefully support her in what she's doing. And I've also linked all the resources we mentioned in the show notes. HG, American Heritage Girls, great courses, as well as Blackburn Study Center. all of their information is in the show notes, so be sure to go check that out. And yeah, since this episode was titled and focused on Sylvia's homeschooling journey and the college decision, I wanted to mention two things that I have really thought about recently when thinking about the college decision. Like, what do I do about college? And the first thing is, college does not equal success. It can equal success, but it doesn't always, or it doesn't guarantee it. It guarantees a lot of debt sometimes, but you will get, a degree when you go to college. But sometimes, a lot of times, the people around me that I know have gotten a college degree and then never actually even used it, or are doing something completely different with their lives. So it doesn't always equal success, and it doesn't always equal success in the area which you're studying. So that was a mindset I had to break out of when I started really thinking about college, was that it doesn't always have to be the first and only choice, and it shouldn't be. If this is something that you're interested in and hearing more about, I highly recommend you listening to this Golden Hour podcast. I've talked about them before. I absolutely love what Mr. Eaton is doing with that podcast. Episode number 34 is an interview that he did with Dr. Weil, who was also on this podcast. But in this interview, specifically around 1 hour and 10 minutes into the interview, I loved the entire thing. So if you want to, I highly recommend listening to the entire episode. But he specifically talked about college in the last, I think 20 minutes of the episode, so starting around 1 hour and 10 minutes. Dr. Weil specifically addresses college, and I think I couldn't say any better than what he said, so I'm not even going to try, but he did make 2 points that I wanted to talk about. He mentioned 2 reasons why you should go to college, and these are pretty much the only 2 reasons, and I 100% agree with them. The first one being, if you need a degree to do your job. So if you're going to be an engineer, there is no doubt about the fact that you are going to need a college degree in order to accomplish that goal. So if that's something that you have always dreamed about, being an engineer, and you know that's your path, then you have to go to college. The second reason being, if you are a natural scholar. And he gave 2 examples. You like reading nonfiction books instead of fiction books. You like debating about academic subjects. You just like studying. You like being in the academic world. And that's just something that interests you. And you feel like you could spend the next 4 years doing that. Then you probably should go to college. Or college is a good path for you to go on. If those 2 things do not match your life or your experience, maybe it's time to start considering other options. Because college it's not supposed to be, and it isn't meant for everyone. So for me, I would like to do something that needs a college degree, and I am naturally inclined to enjoy academic studies, so therefore I am pursuing a college degree. But that is always not necessarily the case. And like with Sylvia's story, she didn't really have a major in mind. She didn't really have a career choice in mind, but she knows she loves cleaning. She likes the satisfaction in it. She likes, helping other people. So that is exactly what she's doing. And I believe it is a wonderful, wonderful decision that she's making. So the second thing I wanted to mention is that if you're thinking about starting a business instead of going to college or trade school, I would highly suggest doing what Sylvia did, which is starting in your senior year or just starting in high school. The reason behind this is because there is momentum with with us as high school students, especially when we graduate. A lot of people go to college. There is a movement towards the new thing, the next thing. And I think a lot of times what can happen is if we're not going to college, we kind of get stuck where we don't actually move and we don't do anything. So starting the business in high school will get you momentum, will get you customer base, will get you familiar with the process. Just like, those of us who are going to college will be looking for colleges, applying to colleges, visiting colleges. That starts in junior year, that starts in high school, that starts in senior year. We're getting the momentum going. The same thing can apply to you who are starting businesses. Start the motion, start the ball rolling in high school, because the hardest part is starting and the rest of it's just I think that's a quote from Amelia Earhart. The hardest part is starting, the rest of it's just tenacity, something like that. I love that quote. I should know it better. But yes, so start in high school. And if you don't know exactly what you want to do, like if the business is just not like right there, or a dream that you've had for a long time, you're like, I don't really know what I actually want to do. Start building skill sets. So you have hobbies, you have things that you love doing. How can I turn this maybe into something I can make money off of? Or what are different skills I can build in high school? And just to give you some examples of things I've seen in my homeschooling community, things I've seen on Instagram, starting with digital marketing, digital management, which is something that I'm really getting into with my mother and her sister have a bakery, and I've been starting to take over their Instagram account and learning how to manage social media for a different business. That has been an amazing learning journey for me, and now I'm able to implement some of the things I'm learning to my homeschool and high school page as well. So that is a great skill to learn in high school. Artistic things, making jewelry, photography, writing or acting. Then like more practical, like service-wise, dog training, dog grooming. A friend of mine is very, very talented in both those things. Managing rental properties, influencing, cleaning, organizing services, childcare, like babysitting, pressure washing, landscaping. These are all skills that are needed, that are valued, and that you can learn while you're still in high school, and you can, especially because you're homeschooled. So build your skill set now. Just start trying things out. Start maybe launching that Etsy business or launching that business in your neighborhood to see how many clients can you get, how much experience can you get while you're still in high school. And also you can look for internships at local companies around you that maybe you don't need a degree to get. And then you can just start working up in the company if that's possible in your area of interest. I've heard the story of a homeschooler who loved riding and taking care of horses and started interning at a local barn near him that actually had Olympic level horses there, which I think is so cool. If I lived near an Olympic level barn, I would be there. Like, I would do this. I really would. So if he had this Olympic level barn near him and he started volunteering there, and then he started interning there, and then now I think he runs it, and he like transports these horses, these really like important horses across the country, and he loves it. And that's what he did. He had no college degree, but he's doing what he loves, and he was able to work up in that company starting from an internship. So that is also something you can look into doing. And then not only that, if you're interested in a career field that maybe you do need a college degree, looking for an internship is also not a bad idea for that situation as well, because you can actually get a look into it. Do I actually want this job before I go and get a college degree in it and spend 4 years studying it? So internships are a really nice thing. And like Sylvia had mentioned in the episode many times, you are flexible as a homeschooler. So they will, if they're familiar with homeschoolers, they will know that. And maybe they'll even be looking for you. And they'll be like, yes, come here because I know you're flexible. I know you're a homeschooler. So we can use that to our advantage to help us out. So the main thing being, keep your eyes open. The opportunities are out there. Follow God's leading. You have no idea what he has in store for you. And we need more students thinking outside of the box when it comes to success outside of high school. Again, college is not the only road, and not everyone is meant for it. So there are so many things that you can do, so many necessary things that we need people to do. So definitely don't limit yourself if you're not sure, if you don't fit into those two categories of reasons why you should go to college. Don't limit yourself to thinking, I have to. There are so many options out there. Just make sure to start now. Start in high school. Start looking. So that is pretty much it for this episode. If you have any other questions about what we've discussed in this episode, please email me. My email is linked below. If you want more content, encouragement, and resources for homeschooling in high school, be sure to check out my Instagram and Facebook links. They're also in the show notes. And then be sure to listen to that episode of this Golden Hour podcast and learn more about college from Dr. Weil. It's a wonderful episode. So next week, we'll be hearing from yet another homeschool graduate. I love this, I guess it's like a mini series of all these homeschool graduates sharing advice and encouragement and what their plans are for the future. I'm loving this. So we're going to hear another one, and she's another wonderful friend of mine who's currently in college studying to be a nurse. So be sure to come back next week to hear her story and her journey. Yes, that will be episode number 32, if you can believe that. But until then, thank you guys for listening, and continue to stay curious.